Merch Minds Podcast episode 118. My name is Glenn, YouTube channel Hustler Hacks Young. What's up?
What's going on?
Uh, Nothing much. Merch doing its thing or not
Uh-huh.
doing its thing.
It's not doing much at all.
It's
Merch
been a
isn't
little
doing
rough
much.
out there.
Um,
We do have a good guest though, at least.
we have a good guest, and we'll get into that here shortly. But let's go over our numbers. Let's see. You want me to start it off?
Sure, go ahead.
Last 7 days. These numbers are horrifying. 59 products sold, 9 returns, product purchases, $1,072.32. Estimated royalties, $187.13.
Oh
Uh,
man. It's
it's pretty bad.
yours is actually a little bit better than mine, but mine's pretty brutal. So for some reason, I have 4 returns in the other market, but I have 3 returns in .com. But 46 products sold, 3 returns. Estimated royalties $142.72.
Mm. And you know what? It's just like I predicted, man. After St. Patty's Day, sales are going to die. I think this year is probably by far probably one of the worst post um, St. Patty's Day sales, because I think again there's just a lot more people on the platform. But it is getting tough.
At least last month, whenever that check comes in, was at least the $1,200-$1,300 range. But this
hmm
month is looking pretty dry.
I mean, I think at this rate,
This month looks half of what that one was. Or
well, so
at the end of the month, maybe more, but
well, I was gonna say, at this current rate, at the end of the month, maybe I'll do $1,000, and if that's the case, this is probably going to be one of the worst months, not year, but one of the worst months in a very long time for me.
yeah. Pretty much I think I think that's gonna be the lowest since one of the first months I started. I don't think I've had that low since February 2016,
Mm,
according to this. I think I'm actually gonna make more on YouTube than this month and last month's merch earnings combined.
all right. So then everyone quit merch and everyone start doing YouTube,
Now we're talking.
huh? Everyone's gonna have a channel now. Um, yeah. So things aren't looking too good right now for everyone. And it's not just us. I've talked to other people in the community. Um, their numbers are drying up as well. Um,
What about the news? Did the news bring in I didn't even get to see any comments or anything about the news of what people thought about it, but
yeah, I didn't really see any comments from the community. But my guess is, I mean, based on what they said, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're changing the URL again to ASINs. Is that what they're doing?
yes, sir.
If that's the case, I'm assuming it's not a good thing. I mean, it's going to hurt ourselves, right? Because whatever our ASINs and URL that we have now, it's going to be deleted, and we're going to get fresh ones, and that means ourselves are pretty much starting from scratch.
I mean, does that pretty much mean that reviews are still going to be there,
Reviews
but
should be still there. I'll be very surprised if they get removed.
so how would it make us start from scratch though? I'm just random question.
I don't know. I'm talking algorithm, whatever they do in the back, right?
I mean, I'm guessing if like a shirt continually getting a lot of views or a lot of hits or everything, I mean, it should help as far as like ranking goes somewhat.
Think about it. Whatever you shared in social media in the past, when people click on it, it's not going to work anymore, right? They're
Yeah,
going to get
because
the, they're going to
the
get
new
the Amazon dogs.
yeah, because a new ASIN means the top bar would change.
So
Your URL.
um, again, I don't know what the whole purpose of doing that is. Maybe Ken can tell us. Um, but yeah, so things are changing. Again, it's not us, Glenn. I've talked to numerous of other people behind the scenes, and everyone's numbers are definitely uh, much lower than what it used to be.
Yeah, which is expected.
But some people are still having some good numbers, right? There's Leak. Yeah, and if you guys don't know who that is by now, go look him up. He's putting out some great designs, great illustrations, and whatnot on merch. Obviously, people like Gua doing the local merch method. So there's people who are creative enough to approach merch in a different manner, and they're able to generate good numbers. Okay, but I think for the traditional way of doing merch, we're not seeing good results, right?
Yeah,
Um, so maybe that's Amazon telling us to really think outside the box. I don't know. Based on my AMS numbers, I'm running ads to some of my shirts. They're not even converting. I don't know what the hell's going on. So for me, AMS is not converting either. Are you running any ads yourself?
no, I don't have any ads right now.
Okay. So what does this all mean? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I would say focus on other platforms. Merch isn't the only one out there. I've talked about me doing KDP the last several weeks, and based on my uploads, I'm seeing some significant results. Again, I'm not making hundreds or thousands of dollars doing KDP. I just recently started my journey, but I am starting to see significant sales, and I'm starting to see sales almost every day. So that's what I've been focusing on. Um, but yeah, there are other platforms out there. I know our today's guest. He talks about Redbubble briefly. So there are other platforms out there that you guys can experiment with. Redbubble. We talked about Etsy, Printful, um, Teespring, T Launch. I mean, there's so many these days. I can't even keep track of what's what.
T
Uh,
whatever.
T something. Designs by humans or whatever. Is that what it's? Is that it? Designs by humans or
Uh,
humanity or something like that. I don't know.
something like that.
Yeah, there's tons of them out there. I would say just really experiment with other platforms and figure out what works best for you. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Is merch by Amazon, in your opinion, is it dead?
I mean, there's money to be made in every platform, but I just know that the way it's been looking right now, and even the effort that's been put into it, I'm not going to be focusing on it nearly as much as I even starting this game plan. I was like, super pumped. The results aren't happening. Could I try other stuff? I could, but when other platforms are working way better than this, even YouTube, I mean, what can I really say? I mean, I have to just go on what's moving and what's working way better and keep
Mhm.
building, riding the hot hand.
It's frustrating. Look, a lot of people are probably listening to this, and um, it's probably not what they want to hear, right? But I mean, what do you want me to say? Do you want me to lie and tell you that right now merch is making, I'm making tons of money on merch? I'll be honest. I'm not making that much money on merch. Not like what it used to be. Do I still like merch? Yes. I've said this 1,000 times now. It is still my number one priority when it comes to my side hustles, but I am working on other things. Um, but let me ask you then. So I know we had talked about you and you being on a certain schedule. Are you still keeping that schedule?
We'll see next week, I guess. I mean, the numbers, like I said, aren't changing, aren't really going up. Then I guess adding more shirts. I mean, we can see what it does, but it hasn't really improved much. I mean, I have been focusing more on YouTube and FBA lately, and
Hmm.
those numbers I've seen way better results as far as the money coming in. So I don't know. I'm probably just gonna slowly ease my way out probably and focus way more time on what's gonna work.
Wow. So Glenn is publicly saying he is quitting Merch by Amazon. Is that
No,
true?
I said that I'm slowly easing my way out and getting more on YouTube. Hey, YouTube, not only better than merch. You didn't even honor our bet saying I was gonna make more money on YouTube than you were on Etsy. I can guarantee you it's gonna way different now.
When the hell did we make that bet?
That we made that bet like late last year. And you're
We
like,
did?
yeah, we can do that.
Huh.
Because you kept telling me like you need to get into Etsy, and I was like, there's no point. I was like YouTube, and then I was like, you need to get into
Uh,
YouTube, and you're like, there's no point, and then it just
I want to say I vaguely remember it, but I
okay.
don't know.
You know, what? I'm gonna find the episode, and we're gonna replay it
Find
for
it
the
and
next
replay it
one.
for me, because otherwise I'm not going to believe you.
Okay, and
Okay.
we'll replay it for the next episode.
So you know what's funny about this whole merch by it's not even just merch by Amazon, it's e-commerce in general. There are so many opportunities out there, and it's you know how I talk about, I try to keep my personal life separate from, how should I say this? I try to keep my side hustle gigs separate from my personal life. Meaning,
Mhm,
remember I mentioned like my friends, they don't really know that I have a podcast, right? They
mhm.
don't really know that I do Amazon. If not that I'm ashamed of it, it's just that it's not something that I go out and talk about, right?
Yeah,
And remember last year, sometime last year, I talked about how some of my friends found the podcast and they were kind of poking fun at me and whatnot, right?
yeah.
Do you remember that conversation we had?
Mhm, mhm.
Okay, I'm not going to mention any names. It's funny because some of them they're crawling to me literally saying, "Hey man, I need to make some extra money. Can you teach me how to do merch by Amazon? Can you teach me how to do FBA? I need some money, man."
What did you say?
Oh, so all that laughing that you guys were doing, all this poking and making fun of Young, now you want to come crawling back and you want me to teach you how to make some money on the side. Ah, okay. I
Come
see how it
crawling
is.
back, eh?
Um, nah, man. You know what? I said, yeah, man. I was like, I'll be more than happy to teach you. I was like, you're not going to see results overnight. Don't
This is
expect.
what I charge.
No, you know they're good friends. I'm not going to charge them. And I was like, you know, don't expect to see overnight results overnight. Because look, here's the thing. I've tried to do this in the past, where I try to help friends. Right? I try to teach my friend the whole eBay business, and
Mhm.
because he didn't make, thousands of dollars within a couple of weeks, he quit. Right?
Yeah,
Right? And I told him, I was like, look, you got to put the work in to see results. If you work 1 hour in the whole month doing merchant by Amazon and you expect to make like $2,000, that's not going to happen. Right?
yeah.
So it's funny. Like I said, it's just kind of funny how things work out. When they were poking fun and making fun at me. Ha ha! Young has a podcast, whatever. Now here they are, asking me how to teach them how to make some money and whatnot on the side.
You're like, "Here's
Um,
my course, here's my mastermind."
but I talk about the power of networking. So I'm about to sign a contract with a startup company here. They need a website, and it
Look at this
just
guy making moves.
well, no. See, look, this is all coming from networking. Like I didn't go out looking for this particular. It's not even a job. It's just it's just something that I'm going to do on the side, right?
Okay, okay.
Um, so it's not like I was out looking for like a contract job. But my friend, a former colleague of mine, knows that I make and develop website on WordPress and whatnot on Squarespace recently, as you know, Glenn. Um,
Mhm.
and he suggested that I contact the startup company because they're looking for someone to develop a website for them. Um, and it's going to be for some decent money. And again, that's the power of networking, right? It goes beyond just merch by Amazon. Just any type of business that you guys are in, network, and you'll get these kind of opportunities. It's not me trying to brag. It's me telling you guys to go out and network, okay? Because you're not going to get these opportunities just sitting at home. But So yes, just wanted to share that. Let's see. We do have a really good guest. I'm surprised it took us this long to get him on. Our good friend, Mr. Nick Eden. You guys may know him from the 4554 podcast. Uh, we haven't heard from him in a while and the podcast, but he does have some good news for us on today's episode. So let's talk to Nick. All right, guys, this is the interview that almost never happened, uh, but Glenn's here, I'm here, and our good friend, Mr. Nick Eden, is here. Say hello, my friend.
Hey, hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Nick Eden. How you doing?
Looking good, my friend.
Okay,
So,
good, good.
let's just get into it, man. So, how did you get into Merch by Amazon?
Uh, actually, I actually got into merch by Amazon because starting off because of Glenn.
Oh,
I was
nice.
in no, seriously. I was in private label. As most people have come from either private label,
Mhm.
eBay, or FBA in some form of fashion, and I listened to Manny Coates'
Mm.
podcast, the AMPM podcast, like religiously, and he
Mm.
was talking about he brought Glenn on, and I was like, whoa, this sounds kind of interesting. I had seen posts about merch before. I don't know why I didn't get into it because I was at that point I was already selling on Teespring, but I think I was just so laser focused on private label that it was just like, oh, I'll get to it later. I had no idea what the hell I was missing. So so I heard the interview and I was like, oh man, I got to check this out. And then I just kind of went from there. I got into a couple of the groups, got in Chris's group. I think at this point everybody's been in Chris Green's group, and it just went in. I got in because I actually applied in October of 2016. So it was like that's back when you would still wait months before you got in. And I got in like the end of February in 2017. But of course, Amazon didn't send an email, so I just kind of haphazardly found out when I checked one day, and I
Mm.
was just like, "Oh, okay, well I'm in." So
Okay. Okay. So I mean, we kind of have a similar background in the sense that I also heard it from Glenn. I mean, I heard people talk about it and stuff, but then when I met up with Glenn, what it's been what 3 years now? What Glenn?
Oh, yeah, it's been a while now.
And he was telling me about, oh yeah, man, I'm making all this money on merch, and he told me how much he was making, and I damn nearly lost my mind. Um, got home, and same thing, man. I applied, had to wait a few months. The only difference is I actually got an email, so I knew when my account was approved.
mhm.
But that's cool, man. So I mean, so what's your background though? I mean, are you a designer or you come from marketing? I know you sing, and we'll talk
Oh
about that
man,
here lately,
oh
uh,
god,
later on in the show.
you found
Um,
out.
dude, hey, it's a good thing though.
Yeah. So actually my background is in graphic design. This will make 21 years that I've been designing.
Good
This
stuff.
say like this May will make 21
Uh-huh.
years. I just kind of haphazardly got into it because people always knew I could draw, even though I kind of got out of that and I wish I didn't because I wouldn't be paying an illustrator now. But I've always drawn. So when I got to college, I had people that were asking me, "Hey, I'm running for dorm president, or I'm running for." I went to Alabama State University. I'm running for Miss Alabama State. I know you draw. Can you? Because naturally, if you draw, you have to do flyers, right? So,
Of course.
I started doing flyers for people around campus, and I actually started off on Microsoft Publisher, and I was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" But for me, it was completely functional for what I needed at the time. And then once I like got into Photoshop, I fell in love from there. I always tell people like I didn't get my degree, in graphic design from Alabama State, but I learned there, so I kind of feel like they need to give me one, just
Mm,
for that because I did learn everything there. So, but yes, I was in music for a very long time. Yes, as an artist, I've released 5 albums.
you got
But
5 albums under your belt?
yes, sir. 5 albums.
Wow,
Two of them were free albums that I just kind of gave out, and then the other three, well, two were EPs. One was a full LP. But
I got you.
I actually love the business side of music a little bit more than I did the artist side. I still love, I haven't performed in years, but I still love it. But I fell in love with the business side, and that kind of got me into marketing. And then adding
I
on
got
the fact that I was a graphic designer, I was able to get just like a lot of connects. You know, I lived in Atlanta for like 12 years. So I was
I
able to
got
do, just a lot of stuff. And then I got into e-commerce selling music. That was like the first thing that I ever sold online was one of my songs, and it was actually on Amazon. Here's the funny thing about it. It was print on demand. I had no idea of the concept at the time, but the site that I used to put the music onto iTunes also gave me the option to put it onto Amazon as well. And so they had this partnership with this small company, Create Space, that if people wanted to purchase the physical copy of your music, they would print the CD, print the artwork, put it in a case, pack it, ship it. So the first thing I ever sold online was on Amazon. It was print on demand. Like, so it just kind of comes full circle now being in merch. So
when was this?
this was July of 2009. So it's running up on
Wow.
10 years. It's
Wow.
running up on 10
So
years.
so so everything just kind of like you obviously from not just um from singing and then just like hustling your album, that all just kind of migrated to doing print on demand, huh?
It
That's
did.
cool, man.
Well, so here's a crazy thing. I've had probably the biggest, probably the biggest distraction in terms of a career. Because, like I said, I love the business side of music, but the music business is very volatile at times. It can be very,
Oh, I'm sure.
kind of up and down. So I worked with a lot of hip hop labels in Atlanta. I was really fortunate to work with a lot of great people. Some names I choose not to say anymore, just for us, for certain reasons. But I, that kind of got me into social media because it was
Mm.
still like I'm aging myself a bit. We're talking at this time that was like around 2006, 2007. So nobody is really outside of MySpace and like College Club. Nobody really had a firm grasp on social media. And so working in the music business, and they were just knowing I was on the business side, they were like, "Look, we got to find something to do with you here." So, oh, you can do graphic design. So it was just basically their way. Them hiring me to do social media was their way of me designing all of their artists' social media pages, all of their
Mm-hmm.
MySpace pages for free, basically. And I just kind of got into it from there. So I've been able to like take a bit of here and there, social media management, reputation management, graphic design, and then over the last few years, print on demand has just kind of become a passion for me. And like Young, you and I, we talked offline before, and I told you if it were
Yeah.
up to me, I'd do print on demand just exclusively. I wouldn't do anything else. But it's become a passion. So I've just been taking bit by bit from all those different places that I was in and all those other things that I did leading up to now.
Oh, that's
And
cool, man.
and I
That's
still do
cool.
contracts. I still take other contracts. Social media stuff and
Sure.
not much graphic design work anymore. I don't have enough time to do my own stuff. So I don't really design for anybody anymore. But if it's
I
a
can
if it's a
relate.
social yeah, if it's a social media contract, then if they want to work that in, then I'll add that part to it. But
Mm-hmm. Glenn, did you have any questions?
Yes, sir. So let's talk about the journey part. So you learned about merch, you were doing private label. So how did you bring in merch to I guess your new schedule and working slowly into it and building that up? I know you didn't just drop private label right then and there. Like, you know what, I'm just gonna focus on merch and everything else you have going on. So how did you add that in now? And then where did it kind of build up?
so I kind of had to drop private label.
Oh, okay.
See, this is like we listen to the gurus. Anybody's tried with private label, FB, anything like that? We listen to the gurus. We hear some of the horror stories. I got held up by one thing, and that was called customs. And so I had about $5,000 worth of inventory sitting in China, and got an email from Amazon. I was actually in Tampa, Florida at the time, and my wife and I we operate our business together. And she called me. She's like, "Have you been in?" It was a private label group, and she was like, "Have you been in a group today?" I'm like, "No." She was like, "Yeah, you need to take a look at this. What they're saying about new sellers." And like I said, and I'll never forget the date. It was October 10th, 2016, and they sent this email out, and they said, "If you have not sending a new shipment, if you're a new seller and you haven't sent in a shipment by October 10th." Then you cannot sell, you cannot have any products FBA during fourth quarter.
Mhm. Okay.
And
Yeah.
the email was sent on October 10th. And so I'm like, okay, crap. And at this point, I got all this inventory in China. It's still in customs. We started way too late. We started way too late. And it was
Mm.
just like, okay, so we can do one or two things here. We can either go the eBay route, which I had done a little bit of eBay at that point. Just some small reselling stuff around the house. Made a couple $100 here and there. Uh, didn't think, because I don't know how it would necessarily operate there. We never really thought about eBay as a platform for the private label product, so we had no plan of attack for it. But it's like we have to do something. And at that point, I was selling on Teespring a little bit here. I had some niche clients that just wanted to do almost on the local merch kind of thing. And I was just like, okay, look, we cannot waste the fourth quarter. We can't waste the fourth quarter. That night, we went ahead and applied for merch. I had no idea it was going to take 4 or 5 months to get in, but we did start selling on Redbubble like almost immediately, and that saved our fourth quarter. And I was like, okay, if Redbubble is going to be like this, then I can't wait for merch to come in. And then it just kind of went from there. And so finally, when we got into merch, I took my biggest sellers from Teespring and Redbubble, because I said, okay, if they sold there, they have to sell on merch. It's no question about it. I had absolutely no idea that it did not work that way, because they didn't sell one, not one single. And I had already made a couple of $100 on these same shirts on different platforms, and on merch, nothing doing. So I was like, okay, I have to relearn this entire process. And so I did what mostly everybody does. Started listening to the podcast and just seeing, okay, how can I systemize this? Because I clearly don't know what I'm doing here. So let me see what else. I started listening to you guys, and what's funny was the first episode that I actually listened to, I didn't like Yang.
Come on, man. What the hell?
Okay, no. Let me set the scene for you. The first episode that I listened to, and remember, I was already familiar with Glenn.
Uh-huh.
So the first episode I listened to was the episode right before you guys brought the guy from Fiverr on.
I got you.
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, and I hadn't had any, again, I've been designing everything myself for all these years. So I'd never used Fiverr. I didn't really know too many people that use Fiverr. So I just figured, okay, well, it's another platform for somebody to go in and make money. And I'm like, man, this dude is like trashing Fiverr. It's like, God, I like Glenn, but this guy's an asshole. What the?
The heck?
So I don't forget. I said, okay, I'm gonna listen to one more episode, and if it's still like that, I'm not listening to this. And then you guys brought the guy that was on Fiverr on, and you just like obliterated this guy. And by the end of the episode, I'm like, yes, Young, yes.
That's funny. Hey, you know what's funny about that show, that particular episode where that guy came on, and Glenn, you obviously know this. We had put out an open invitation,
Mhm.
right? The previous episode. For the life of me, I didn't think anyone would want to come on the show. Sure enough, he goes, "Oh, I'll come on the show." I'm like,
He was the worst.
I was like, okay, and I told him when the show started, I was like, look, we're gonna ask you some tough questions. But don't take it personal. I mean, we're all adults here. There's no reason there's no reason for us to have a shouting match.
Right.
Let's all respect one another. But there's gonna be some tough questions. And he actually, considering even though he lies about everything that he does, he actually ended up being a really good guest.
It was a good
Surprisingly,
show. It
yeah,
was a good show, but I was just like, you got to be kidding me, because there's already, for somebody like, for me, as long as I've been designing, I can remember a time where I did make my full-time living as a graphic designer.
mm,
That was my full time. I had no problem, getting money from my clients. I had no problem getting new business. It, and it was very lucrative. And then probably around '08, when the market crashed and we were in a recession, I found myself like, I ended up taking more former clients at this point to small claims court than actually collecting money. And then once that finally recovers, you have this huge technology boom, and now people are literally seeking out design work that in 5 years ago would cost
yeah.
$2,000-3,000. Now they're trying to get it for $5. It's like,
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Look, it's never been about the platform. What I have an issue about Fiverr is people, and we talked about this countless of times, is people claim to be designers and they hide behind the platform like Fiverr. They put up fake profiles,
mhm,
just like our guests, right? They put up fake profiles, talk about what kind of experience they have, and then when you get to work back, it just, I mean, you can just tell immediately, well, this wasn't,
right,
there was no effort put into it, right?
right,
That's the issue that I have with Fiverr. um, if you really have the experience that you say that you have, there's other ways to share your artwork instead of just Fiverr. If you're really a designer, let me see your portfolio outside of Fiverr,
right.
right? But everyone and their mom is a freaking graphic designer these days. Oh man, I've been designing for 95 plus years, man.
Right,
And it's
right.
just whatever, man. But but um, but that's funny, man. Like, I didn't like Young.
I didn't, but by the end of that episode, I was like your number one fan because I was like,
That's awesome.
yes.
That's awesome. Um, so you're the host of the 4554 podcast. Tell us about it.
Okay, so 4554 podcast was birthed out of an idea in Joe Clay's group.
Mm.
Uh,
Okay.
I had I was still relatively new. I mean, I think at that point I was in like the 500 tier. But it was a lot of sellers that were just getting started, and this is no disrespect to anybody that was putting out content at the time, because you got to think you had Mike the Treasure Gnome putting out content, you guys putting out content, Anthony was doing the daily merch drive, but people were saying that they were intimidated by the big numbers.
Mm.
You have people who at this point I look at three different, for lack of a better term, tiers of merch sellers. You've got the ones who have been around for a while, have a pretty good handle on their account. They're dealing with the changes of merch because it's still a growing platform, but they're still able to kind of get through it. Then you have the kind of, I call them the 200s. Those are the ones that are steadily getting around between 200 and 500 a month on merch. Still, they've got a good platform on it. They just haven't taken off through the roof yet. Then you got the guys that just have not gotten that one sale yet. Like they see, and they hear the numbers and it's like, oh, that's wonderful. You sold this and you sold that. Uh, I'm just trying to get to the first sale. I'm trying to have one this month. I'm
Mhm.
trying to get a royalty payment this month. And, and that discussion was had a lot in the group. And I was like, well, okay, I'm not the biggest seller. I have some experience in print on demand outside of merch. Let me put together something that, can talk to that person and talk to the person that's
Sure.
still waiting. Because I mean, at that point, you still had a 4 or 5 month waiting period for merch. And I've always been, a big believer of multi platforms. Jacob, he's the champion for it. He just happened to put it in a book. But I've always been a big champion of that. So I was like, okay, let me talk to that person. Let me let that person get that first sale, or know what it's like to get out of the 10 tier, know what it's like to get out of the 25 tier, the 100 tier. My goal for the 4554 podcast was that somebody who was listening and just starting out would surpass me.
I got you.
Because at least that way I knew, because I always said that if I didn't put any value, anytime I turned on the microphone, anytime I turned on the camera, I didn't want to say anything.
Mhm.
So I was like, if nothing else, it validates that the information that I was giving was working. Look, I don't care if you sell more than me. I
Yeah.
want you to sell more than me. That means the concept was right. You just found a better way to implement it than I did, which is
Right.
amazing, because now you can kind of pay it forward. And so my biggest thing was, if we can do that, and then everybody stop the black hat ways of getting out of the 10 tier, then perhaps merch will be a little bit better off. Because I think there was a time, and I remember Chris Green making mention to it, where they did consider just keeping the top sellers in merch because people were screwing up. And I mean, people are still screwing up, and I think they have a better handle on it now. But it was like, okay, if we have a bunch of people that are coming in, they might be intimidated by some of the bigger numbers that they hear. At least here's a podcast that kind of gets them a start, that gives them just a suggestion, something that maybe you can't sell one of the 30,000 results for St. Patrick's Day. But, maybe you can sell one of the arbitrary holidays like National Hot Dog Day or something like that, or Flat Earther Day. Well, so that, and that was everything. That was the whole concept behind the 4554 podcast. Which I just tonight I'll be releasing the newest episode. This is the first episode since June of last year.
Man, I was my next question,
Yeah.
man. What's going on with the episodes, man?
Yeah. So do you remember last year we talked and I told you I was headed to New York to go work? Yeah. So for those who don't know, I don't like to call it a jack of all trades. I was just always a guy that was like, hey, I'll try that. Hey, I'll try that. And I've always had a love for politics. So last year I left to go to New York. I was only supposed to be there for 7 weeks to work the governor's primary as an organizer. So I ended up staying there for an additional 2 weeks. Then I got sent to Nashville, Tennessee, and then I got sent to Florida. And it went from being 7 weeks to being 4 months that I was gone. And so I was like, okay, rather than just kind of hop back in and, just start doing a bunch of content, let me just sit back, I've gone through every episode that I've done since I started the podcast in September of 2017. And I've said, okay, I like this about it. I like that about it. I hated this. This needs to change. This needs to be more polished. Let me just kind of go through and just redo everything and start fresh. And so that's why it ended up taking a little longer than I thought. I mean, obviously, you're getting acclimated to being back home, wife and kids. So life kind of happened. And then on top of that, I'll be honest with everybody, not being able, because when I was working the campaigns, I was working 7 days a week. So literally 7 days a week from about 8 in the morning to roughly about 10 at night. I didn't upload anything. My sellers for Q4, pretty much with the exception of like 10 shirts, was everything that I had loaded prior to me leaving to go to New York.
Mhm.
So I couldn't very well come back and say, again, I want to provide value. I couldn't come back talking about things that I was doing in early 2018, in late 2018 or 2019. We know how much merch changes and how fast it changes.
I was
So
gonna say
no.
a lot has changed since then too.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, let me get myself together. Let me get focused. Let me find my place in everything now. And that's why it's taken so long to get everything back going. But everything's coming back. Podcast is coming back. I'm going to start doing more content on YouTube. I've actually, for the last couple of months, been building content for another YouTube channel that my wife and I are doing together. That's all about side hustles. So it's just, I've been busy,
Uh-huh. Now, so it sounds like you guys got a bunch of side hustles going on. Are you and your wife working for someone else, or you guys are full-time entrepreneurs?
We are 100% self-employed. 100%
Nice.
self-employed.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Just kind of like Glenn and Gigi, because you guys just recently went full-time as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're full time on different platforms, and whichever. I guess what I like about diversifying in that is like whatever platform's running hot, I gotta just keep building that up and scaling it up. And so some things are working better than others. FBA's kind of come back for me a little bit now that merch has kind of gone down, and so I've been kind of, I don't know, just feeding whatever is hot. With how is merch for you now in the last couple of months? Have you been uploading more, or how's that been for you?
So at one point I was trying to upload every day, max out my uploads every day. And to be honest, after a while, you just start uploading a bunch of crap.
Things start going crazy after a while.
Yeah,
I mean, you see the same.
Exactly. And let's be honest, at a certain point, if you're not disciplined about it, you can get really lazy. Oh, okay, well, I've got this one text-based style shirt, so now I'm going to do it in red, I'm going to do it in yellow, I'm going to do it in green, I'm going to do it in blue. And it's just, and now I've got pop sockets, premiums, long sleeves, hoodies, and sweatshirts all in this. So all I've done is clutter up all of my spots with a bunch of junk that's not selling. So now,
this is the thing about merch. When we said it's changed a lot, was in the beginning that worked. You can't do that no more.
You can't. I've definitely gone by RJ's logic. I hired an illustrator sporadically, so I'm probably paying a little bit more than I should. But to me now, a good day is 3 solid uploads. If I get 3 solid uploads where I'm looking at this and I say I would buy that, I would seriously buy that. It's more about the quality of it now. Merch
Sure.
is down right now. I didn't do any. I didn't. I did like 250 unique designs for St. Patrick's Day, and it's just, again, merch has changed. I didn't run a bunch of ads, and so I didn't see a bunch of results.
Hmm.
I did see results in some more of my lower, competition evergreens, which I think is something that's going to always be true about merch and print on demand anyway. But I started seeing some success in arbitrary holidays. So okay, let me look some more into that. Let me look where everybody's going right. Let me look left. I'm not going to be thinking about uh, Father's Day as much as I may be about some horrible small holiday
Ice
in
cream
like
day and donut
Boise,
day.
Idaho, right? That only 200 people know about. But if 200 people know about it and 100 of them buy the shirts, hey, it was worth it. So that's kind of mentality now.
Yeah.
For me right now, merch is down this week. I did so far. I'm like 42 sales this week, which I think is still solid. But considering where I was at a certain point, I'm like, okay, let me, I just. But it's down right now. That's
You-
fine.
You're not that far from me, man. My numbers are down. In fact, Glenn and I were talking before you came on about how merch is pretty much dead right now, and I'm not just talking from my own personal experience, but everyone that I've talked to, just saying merch is dead. Um, I'm not going to give up on it,
No,
and I've said this 1,000 times. I mean, merch is always going to be my priority. My number one side hustle. But I mean, a lot has changed, like you said. It's getting tougher and tougher. So let me ask you, man, with everything that's changed with merch, as a beginner, if someone just got into merch, if someone just had their account approved, based on based on what you know, what advice can you give to some of the beginners who just got into merch?
the first thing I would tell them is to stop worrying about the screenshots. And you know what I mean with that. You're in the
Hmm.
groups and you see everybody putting up
Everyone's sharing their own
the big
personal
numbers.
numbers. Yeah.
It's wonderful. Your merch journey is your merch journey. Originally, I would tell someone go for the holidays and trends, but merch is a lot more competitive, and depending on your skill level as a graphic designer, it may not work for you. I would immediately go for a local merch style tactic.
Mm,
I think the thing about it is when people hear about merch, the thing they keep hearing is passive income. I don't feel like it's ever been that.
mm,
That's my personal opinion.
yeah,
But
I
now more
agree.
than ever, you have to be active with merch. You have
I
to.
agree. I agree. I
So
agree.
I would say take the local merch approach. It doesn't have to be the exact way that Mike Wall does it. I know a lot of people aren't comfortable with selling, but I think when you do that, like here's the thing with FBA, with reselling, with private label, I think a lot of people go into those ventures and there is so much information to consume and learn because you have to go in it about your business. When it comes to print on demand, because the barrier of entry is a lot lower, I think a lot of people just kind of jump into it, and when they see that it doesn't work, immediately, oh, this was a scam, or oh, this was this. No, you have to go into merch and print on demand with the same respect that you would for private label.
Yep.
You
Treat it
know,
like a business.
right. Treat it like a business. Invest in your business. People will say in a second, oh, well, what are the free tools? The free tools are saturated.
Yeah, I mean,
You
and
know,
some of the free tools out there, to this day they work great. But it's like you said. I mean, for the average person who doesn't design, invest in it. And again, we're not talking Fiverr, but we're talking a real designer, someone who's
right.
real, someone who has years of experience doing design. They're out there. It's just you guys are looking in the wrong places. Um, Before I let you go, I want to ask you about your music. Yo, hey, I didn't know you had skills like that, man.
Oh man.
You've been singing for some time now, huh?
Yeah. So I'm never a person that's shy about my age. I am 38. I have been
Young buck.
actively pursuing the music business since 1994.
Hmm.
I'm an R&B head through and through. You know, Boys to Men, Jodeci, Brian McKnight, that kind of thing. Always been
I
there.
grew up with that music, man. I
Yeah.
love it.
So, like I said, I fell in love with the business side of music a little bit more than I did with the artist side. But I still enjoy performing. Now, I haven't recorded anything since like 2014. Um, I haven't performed. Oh my God, it's probably been longer than that. But I have had a few situations that worked out for me. You know, I was on the audition circuit for years, so American Idol, The Voice, a lot of those
Nice.
places. I made it to to show how long it's been. There was one year that I did make it to Randy, Simon, and Paula, but
Was it ever
that
aired?
it didn't air, and I was so pissed. Oh my God. Because okay, here's the other thing. I was still at that point a working musician. So my thought process was, okay, if I can just get onto TV, then I can get some more gigs. Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. That even if I didn't go further, that's fine. And it didn't air. So it was okay.
Ah,
But I did they relaunched. Do you remember Showtime at the Apollo? Uh,
yeah, I do.
they
Yeah.
yeah, they relaunched that a few years ago on BET. I was on the first season of that. That was back in 2012. I was on the Steve Harvey New Star project where I won that. So I was on his
Well,
TV show and I was on the radio and the whole nine. I've got a few appearances on TV that like I said, kind of help get some more gigs. But I still have a love for music. I do. It's just that
are you still
for
singing on a regular basis?
I mean I sing every day. Yeah.
Okay.
I sing every day, but performance wise, no. What you would probably get out of me at this stage of the game is, I would probably do something like off centered, like a jazz album or something, because I'm just kind of at that point where I'm doing
Right.
everything to just kind of have fun, all the
Yeah.
stuff that I was always into,
That's cool.
because again, I'm and don't get me wrong, I'm extra blessed and fortunate to be able to be 100% self-employed, which is why I'm like, no, let me do all the stuff I can do fun. Like I trained to be a pro wrestler, like just because like it was something I always loved, I always wanted to try. I tried it when I was younger, and then I said, okay, let me go ahead and try it again. It's kind of difficult when you do it at 36 at the time, but
Hmm.
hey, yeah, I kind of screwed myself up a little bit, but
Well,
it was okay.
Nick, check this out, man. Look, if you ever want to entertain the idea of singing again, yo, if you ever need a backup dancer, I'm not a good singer, man. I got some moves though.
What?
Hey, I'm telling you, I got some moves.
This guy was just
Huh?
complaining about his back the other day.
Huh?
So I will say this much. I'll go ahead and put it out there. I have every plan of being in Seattle this year, and I'm gonna hold you to that. We're gonna do a Facebook Live, and I'll sing, and I want you to be background
Oh,
dancing.
nice. This is awesome. Now we're talking. This is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I think it's my end, but I missed all that.
No, yeah. You missed it. Okay, watch the
You guys are
replay.
breaking up on my end. I can't hear
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll remind you of it every day until we get to Seattle, and then you're gonna dance and I'm gonna sing, and we're gonna do a Facebook Live.
Okay, I got better. I don't know. I just saw you guys laughing. I'm like, what the hell did he say?
Oh, man, it's gonna be awesome. We're gonna make sure we get this ready to go in all the groups,
Oh
YouTube,
yeah,
wherever else we can get it on.
I don't even know what he
definitely.
said. What's going on?
This is gonna be great.
Yeah, it's gonna be hilarious.
I don't even know what the guy said. Whatever, man.
Just say yes.
No,
Yeah, we'll remind him. We have this recorded for the podcast, so
we do have this recorded. But
yeah.
hey Nick, man, hey, thanks so much for being on the show, man. I really appreciate it. Um, I know we had some. There was a little delay there in the beginning, but we really do respect your time, and thanks so much, man. And we should talk more often, man.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thanks
Sounds
for having
good.
me on, guys.
All right, really great interview. Time went by pretty quick on the interview. I mean, just super laid back guy,
Super
and I
cool, man.
enjoyed it. I like hearing the journey part, but it was kind of interesting though, with him coming back into merch and not uploading for a while though because working on other things. So that was pretty interesting. And
Yeah,
now let's see what he does now, bring the podcast back. So going from there.
I'm kind of shocked that he didn't like me. And
Shock.
that was very shocking. I was very surprised. Nick, I'm not gonna lie. Uh, I didn't like Glenn either.
If I
And
had a nickel for every time someone told me they didn't
and
like
uh,
Young.
and you know what? I still don't like Glenn. But we do the show because I know the people ask for it. But no, seriously though, he was a good guy. And we should definitely have him back on real soon. But other than that, man, your parents, they're on vacation.
Oh, no.
Are they
No,
back?
they're back.
Do
So,
they go anywhere fun?
no, they're just helping my brother out and some stuff. So,
Brother Hacks?
yeah, brother hacks.
Is there anything bad?
No, it's good. It's good. I can keep you
Okay.
posted after the show.
Okay. So they were hanging out with Brother Hacks.
Yeah.
Um, so well, cool, man. Well, other than that, man, we don't have anything for you guys. We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.